Hello people YouTube, Srsly here, and today we're going to be covering the basics of Left 4 Dead 2. Now, whether you're completely new to the game or fairly experienced, now that I'm going to cover as much of the game as I can, giving you a wide array of possibly old and new information, some of which even surprised me when I first learned about it. Today's topics are as follows: primary weapons, secondary weapons, throwable items, health kits and defibs, quick kill items, holdable items, how to maneuver areas safely, how to survive the different types of crescendo events, and what factors affect movement speed. Now, note that these aren't all of the game topics, but I tried to cover all the ones I thought were important to getting the most out of the loot the game provides you, especially on higher difficulties. So, without further ado, let's delve right into the first topic. Primary weapons are at the core of every good defensive and offensive situation, and occupy your character's first HUD slot. There are several types of primary weapons that you'll likely encounter, each of which can be categorized into one of 5 different categories: rifles, shotguns, sniper rifles, SMGs, and the rarely encountered special primaries. There are 2 special primaries, the grenade launcher and the M60, which I won't cover for this video because they're only found in a few set locations throughout the game, and can almost always be ignored when encountered. For listing the primaries, I'll start with the most close-range weapons and work outwards. Being the first weapon type up for scrutinizing is shotguns. There are 4 shotguns that you need to concern yourself with: Chrome or pump shotgun, auto shotgun, and the combat shotgun. Chrome or pump shotguns are basically identical, and in the early game it rarely makes a difference which shotgun you pick up, so just grab a shotgun as needed and don't worry about the slight differences between the 2 weapons. The auto shotty does more damage on the combat shotty at close range, which is likely where you're going to be doing most of your fighting, whereas the combat shotty does slightly less damage but has a tighter spread, making it more accurate at longer ranges. Now, it's usually better to pick up an auto shotty over combat one because of the damage gain and the minimal risk of fall-off damage as a result of the shotgun's close-range nature. Shotguns should almost always be your go-to weapon of choice for navigating campaigns that force you into a lot of cramped spaces, like the Parish or Dead Center. Shotguns aren't nearly as effective on much larger campaigns like Dark Carnival and Swamp Fever, so pick up a sniper rifle or rifle instead. Additionally, shotguns aren't very useful in the finale of each campaign, a crescendo event that requires you to survive 2 waves of infected before rescue arrives. In short, equip a shotgun when you're going to be doing a lot of up-close combat, running through crescendo events, or protecting your team. The next 2 things up on the list are rifles and SMGs. These 2 weapon types can be clumped together because they're essentially the same thing and serve the same purposes. There are 2 types of SMGs and 3 types of rifles, and they're as follows: the SMG, silenced SMG, combat rifle, AK-47, and M16 assault rifle, which is usually just abbreviated to the M16 or assault rifle. If I were to rank all the SMGs and rifles in order of worst to best, it would go SMG, silenced SMG, combat rifle, M16, and finally the AK-47. Combat rifle is consistently the worst rifle in the game due to its burst fire. The 2 SMGs are basically the same and can be treated as such in most scenarios, and the AK-47 is superior to the M16 because it has 50% more damage per clip, with 10 less shots used. For people who are new to the game, or aren't all that great at FPS games like I used to be, then I'd recommend the M16 for increased accuracy, clip size, and fire rate. For more experienced players, the AK-47 is preferred for its much higher DPS output, but slightly worse accuracy. The last weapons to cover are snipers. Sniper rifles are weapons that you won't encounter right away because the game considers them to be Tier 2, meaning you likely won't encounter them until halfway through the start of the first campaign, or beyond. There are only 2 sniper rifles to worry about though: the sniper rifle, which is promptly named, and the hunting rifle, and they're both extremely useful and powerful in a wide array of circumstances. The sniper rifle is superior to the hunting rifle in all ways except accuracy while running, so almost always replace a hunting rifle out with a sniper rifle for double the clip size. Sniper rifles, the weapon type, not the weapon itself, can penetrate through several enemies at a time, killing about 3 to 5 common infected on expert mode or more on lower difficulties, making them a viable weapon choice when navigating tight locations. To rank what weapons you want to pick during the game, I would put the SMG and pump shotty at the number 5 slot, combat rifle at the number 4, hunting rifle or combat shotty at the number 3, the auto shotty or M16 at the number 2, and the AK-47 or sniper rifle at the number 1. These are the weapons that I find upgrading to time and time again, and have consistently proven themselves to be ranked in this general order. although you may differ with me on some of my opinions. Now, I tied two of the weapons together, excluding the combat rifle, for each of the tiers, so you can have a choice between either a ranged or mid to close range weapon, alleviating you the choice between the two. Of course, your general playstyle and layout of each campaign will have a significant impact on which weapons you choose, so try them all out and find out what works best for you. When dealing with general map clearing, shotguns and rifles are your go-to weapons, depending on what you're hoping to accomplish. If you're hoping to get through a level as quickly as possible, i.e. speedrunning, equip a shotgun so you only have to deal with the infected that attack you, leaving the rest to your team if you have one. If you plan on taking a map with moderate speed and without taking any damage, or very little, equip a rifle for its ability to deal with special infected and infected hordes at range. If your main concern for a level is a gauntlet event, a crescendo event where you're running to a goal, or a finale, then equip a sniper for its ability to one-shot all basic infected and one-shot most special infected with a headshot, in addition to its exceptionally larger clip size and decent running accuracy when compared with all shotguns. If you're playing a campaign that you're fairly familiar with, always take into account what your biggest concerns are for the upcoming chapters so you can plan accordingly. In my Left 4 Dead 2 campaign guide, for example, you'll be seeing and hearing me preparing for upcoming chapters and crescendo events as early as 2 to 3 chapters in advance. A good rule of thumb when picking a primary is to count the number of shots it takes to kill a basic infected, double that number, and count the number of infected you can kill with a full clip. For example, an M16 can kill an infected on expert with 3 shots, which you double using the rule to 6 shots per kill, giving it 8.3 infected kills per 50-shot clip, which rounds down to 8 kills per clip. An AK-47 can kill an infected in 2 shots, which is double to 4, which gives it 10 kills per clip. Now, you may argue that a combat rifle is on par, or even better than, an AK-47 using this rule, and you're right. A combat rifle can get about 10 kills per clip with this rule. However, combat rifles force you to use burst fire, which severely stunts your fire rate and ability to flick aim between shots, making it the worst of the 3 rifles. This rule is good for remembering which weapons are good and bad when you don't want to look up the weapon statistics, but isn't perfect and requires taking into account external factors, like effectiveness against tanks and fire rate. There are 4 secondary weapon types in the game to concern yourself with. Starting pistols, i.e. the P220 and Glock, the Magnum, melee weapons, and the chainsaw. The primary purpose of secondary weapons is to use them as your first line defense against your average infected that you find strewn across the campaign, in addition to killing as many infected in a horde as possible at a range before you're forced to switch to a more powerful alternative at mid to close range so you can easily one-shot anything that gets too close. After exhausting the clip on your pistol or pistols, or when you get swarmed by infected and your melee becomes useless, pull out your primary to kill the infected in your immediate vicinity before pulling out your secondary again to kill anything nearby. Of course, you don't need to worry about this if you have one of the snipers equipped, as your ability to one-shot infected at a distance is much preferred to peppering enemies with pistol fire or battering them with melee attacks. It's usually not a good idea to use primary weapon ammo if it can be avoided, so that way you have plenty of ammo to deal with special, horde, or boss infected. Unless, there's not going to be a tank, or if you're playing on a low difficulty setting, always keep your ammo reserves at least half, because it's likely you're going to need to use 2 to 3 clips to kill any tanks you come across. Of course, this rule doesn't apply to when you're playing the finale. There are good weapons up ahead, or if your team is on the verge of death, at which point it really doesn't matter. A counterpart to your average pistol is the Magnum, a much more powerful version of the starting pistol that can one-shot any infected and 2 or 3 shot at most special infected. Magnums are always preferred to a starting pistol or even to 2 pistols, because of their ability to clear out large areas much faster without having to waste primary weapon ammo to do so. Although using a single Magnum puts you at a disadvantage in terms of clip size when compared with dual-wielding a pair of starting pistols, it's almost always preferred to know that you can kill an infected in one shot instead of the usual 5 in expert mode with the P220 and Glock. In short, Magnums are excellent infected killers when on higher difficulty where damage output is severely stunted, but are definitely less than amazing on lower difficulties where starting pistols greatly close the damage gap. The secondary weapons they almost never see in higher difficulties, but almost always see in lower ones are melee weapons, excluding the chainsaw. Melee weapons, at least for most people, are more of a joke weapon than anything else that allows you to run into gigantic hordes of infected and kill them all in a hilarious manner, getting gore all over your screen as you do so. In higher difficulties, you should never even think about picking up a melee weapon unless you're highly skilled with them, which I'm not, as the likelihood of your ever need to use them is practically nil. I've literally never used a melee weapon seriously in any game mode, and neither should you, unless you're playing on a lower difficulty or playing without any teammates or bots, because the ability to cut smokers' tongues should they grab you. Chainsaws are the joker of the secondary weapons because they're sort of like a mix between a shotgun and a melee weapon, as they're huge damage output but extremely limited range. You anticipate a gauntlet event up ahead where you need to run through hordes of infected at a brisk pace to reach a goal at the end, and chainsaws are actually amazingly effective, because they give you a long period you can plow down anything in your path without a risk of taking damage due to a mistimed melee swing. Additionally, chainsaws are amazing tank and witch killers because they can kill an expert mode tank in 8 seconds, and a witch in 1 second on expert. Now, I point this out later, so you need not memorize it, but after managing to down a player, a tank will take about 2 to 3 seconds to glow to success, becoming completely immobilized, giving you a chance to run up and take out about 1/3 to 1/2 of the tank's health in one fell swoop, or even kill it in some cases if you're lucky. The strategy also works with propane and oxygen tanks, but not as effectively because it requires you to take a decent amount of damage in the process. If you're playing with bots and expect a tank soon, it's actually not a bad idea to hold on to a chainsaw to greatly speed up the fight.
Through this window.
There are only 3 types of throwable items: Molotovs, pipe bombs, and bile bombs that are extremely useful in different situations. Throwable items can either be encountered in pairs or in their lonesome, giving you an opportunity to use them right away, assuming you're playing with bots, before picking up another one and continuing on your way. Of the 3, Molotovs are the least useful of all the throwable items in single player only, because it's almost always better to have a pipe bomb or bile bomb to support your bot teammates who aren't great at defending themselves in open areas. Unless you're expecting a tank or infected horde soon, it's almost always a better idea to pick up a different throwable in its place. The best ways to use a Molotov are setting a tank or witch on fire to deal damage over time and decrease the movement speeds by roughly 25%, killing a horde of infected by setting a narrow space on fire, or blocking bot teammates from progressing temporarily. It's important to note that bot teammates will refuse to go through fire, giving you about 16 seconds to access and use any healing items before they come through and grab whatever you left over. In campaign mode, i.e. multiplayer, Molotovs actually increase the speed of tanks, so don't use one unless your teammates are mostly above 40 health, but more on this later. Despite this, it's good for one person in multiplayer to have a Molotov because they can be useful if you or someone on your team is good enough to strafe around a tank's attacks. Pipe bombs are slightly more useful than Molotovs because of their ability to easily kill an entire infected horde or give you a few seconds to complete an objective. Once a pipe bomb is down, you have roughly 6 seconds to do whatever it is you want to do before it explodes, killing up to 20 infected or about 2/3 of an infected horde, and giving you ample room to take out any stragglers. I mentioned this later, but pipe bombs are a great counter to getting puked on by a boomer because they take aggro priority over boomer puke, effectively making it like you were never puked on at all. Bile bombs are the most versatile or useful throwable item in the game, and the game knows this, as they primarily spawn in a few set locations in the first 2 chapters of a campaign. When a bile bomb is thrown, it will splash on whatever ground or infected it hits, putting up a lingering puff of green smoke and spawning in an infected horde to swarm the area. Whatever infected or hit by a bile bomb will gain a purple outline to them, and be attacked by any basic or special infected nearby, slowing their movement speeds considerably. Bile bombs combine the best aspects of Molotovs and pipe bombs with their abilities to almost completely stop the tank's pursuit with common infected, and distract an entire horde of infected for a whopping 20 seconds. There are Crescendo Events in the game that are near impossible to complete with ordinary strategies and weapons, but a single well-placed bile bomb can clear most Gauntlet and standard Crescendo Events with ease. It's important to note that there's an aggro list when a bile bomb or pipe bomb has been used. What I mean by this is that infected will prefer to target certain things over others, depending on whether or not some requirements have been met. priority list is, from most drag right onto to least, pipe bombs, boomer puke, bio bombs, and regular survivors. So, for example, if you throw a bio bomb and then immediately get puked on by a boomer, then that bomb you just threw is now effectively cancelled out, making the infected aggro onto you. However, once infected are within an effective range of something, they cannot be aggroed onto anything else, meaning that the boomer puke will only aggro the infected on the outskirts of where you threw the bio bomb, leaving about 5 to 10 infected still within its effective range. This is important to know because if you get puked on and throw a more powerful aggro-inducing throwable, like a pipe bomb, then the infected that are currently attacking you will continue to attack you, even though they should be aggroed onto the pipe bomb instead. Health kits are the backbone of any player's long-term survival. Make up the 4th slot on your character's HUD and are one of the most cherished and rare items in the game. At the end of every level are 4 to 8 health kits that won't respawn if used in between chapters, so make sure to use them wisely. There are additional spots in a campaign where health kits can be found or obtained, but they're so rare, especially on the earlier campaigns, that you rarely need to concern yourself with them when not in or near a safe room. Using a health kit will restore your health to 80% of its current missing amount, meaning that if I have 50 health and use a kit, then my health will increase by 40 points up to 90. Note that health kits do not take temporary health into consideration when healing. For example, if I have 50 health and 50 temporary health, the health kit will heal me to 90 health and 10 temporary health, getting rid of the leftover 40 temporary health. Health kits should always be used preemptively to keep yourself above 40 health at all times. One should even consider using multiple health kits in a row to get your health as high as possible for some especially different Crescendo events or chapters. For example, if I have 59 health or less on Expert, I should seriously consider using a health kit so that if I get hit once, taking away 20 health, I don't suddenly suffer a movement speed penalty when I can't afford to go slow, like on a gauntlet event where I'm running to an objective. If you have a good quick heal item, then you don't have to worry about healing before an event, but that's only if you have an adequate time to heal while being attacked or waiting to be attacked during an event. After making it to the safe room at the end of every chapter, wait until all nearby infected and special infected are dead before healing any teammates who are below 50 health. If you wait until the next level to heal your team, then you will have to heal them at the start of every attempt if your team gets wiped. So make sure to heal up and grab supplies if you anticipate having to make multiple attempts on the next chapter. Additionally, if you start to close a safe room door and immediately start healing yourself for a teammate, then when the door closes, the animation will end. The health kit will instantly heal whoever you're healing. This strategy is useful when you hear a horde of special infected closing in while you're healing your team and the door is still open. Just make sure you don't accidentally start healing the wrong person and you have wasted a health kit. Of the 2 healing items, defibrillators are by far the least used in the game, and I'd seriously be surprised if you needed to use more than 3 in 100 hours of play outside of Versus and Realism, except to get the achievements related to the item. Since most of the time, outside of easy normal mode, your health is very likely to ever be in a position where you ever need to consider taking a defib, defibs will almost always be the item you see and wish another item had spawned in its place. The places where defibs really shine are Versus and Realism, because in these modes you won't be able to revive killed players by opening doors that you can find periodically throughout the level. Unless you don't have anything to fill your 4th HUD slot, don't ever take a defib in place of special ammo or a health kit. Quick heal items make up your bomb or 5th slot in your character's HUD, and are the preferred healing option when it comes to getting out of a tough spot when you don't have a whole lot of time to work with. Although health kits are great and all, having to take a full 5 seconds to heal is far too much when you're being chased on by a tank or need to complete a Crescendo event. So before even considering using a health kit in any desperate situation, make sure you've checked to see if you have any quick healing items instead. The first of 2 quick heal items that I'll discuss are adrenaline shots. Adrenaline shots, are abbreviated most likely to SHOT, are your go-to quick heal items when you're preparing yourself for a Crescendo event when you're running to an objective because of the many effects that they have on your character. The most notable effects are that your movement speed is impeded by infected swings in water, you can pick up teammates and reload all guns about 2 times faster than normal, you can move 30% or 50% faster depending on your health, more on this later, and you gain 25 temporary health. Since adrenaline shots only last 8 seconds, you need to make sure to use them at the most effective time. which usually means using them after throwing any preemptive throwable items and using the shot right before you need it so as to get the most out of its effects. Pain pills are less exciting than adrenaline shots and only have one effect, albeit one that can significantly increase your overall survivability. Consuming pills will give you 50 temporary health that will decrease at a rate of 1 health per 5 seconds, giving you a maximum of 250 seconds of increased health. Pills are more readily available than both health kits and adrenaline shots, usually making them your go-to health items in times of need. It's generally a good idea to use pills if your health dips below 40, because using pills to increase your health back above 39 will increase your movement speed by 50%. Another way of looking at this is if your health dips below 39, then your movement speed will decrease by roughly 1/3. Using a quick heal item will restore it by roughly 1/2 from what it was at previously. Primary weapon upgrades can be picked up to and deployed from your 4th HUD slot, putting them in conflict with health kits and defibs. There are 3 types of primary weapon upgrades: laser sights, frag ammo, and incendiary ammo. Only 2 ammo types can be picked up and deployed, with the laser sights already being pre-placed. Using a laser sight will only affect your primary weapon, making them about as accurate as if you were always standing still or crouching at all times. Laser sights have the least noticeable effect on shotguns, since they always have about the same accuracy regardless of whether you're moving or not. So laser sights are best used in conjunction with the other primary weapon types like rifles and snipers. The 2 ammo upgrades, frag and incendiary ammo, will replace whatever currently occupies your 4th HUD slot and will leave it empty when deployed on the ground. Each player or bot on the team can only pick up a special ammo clip once, so make sure to coordinate who picks it up and when for the best results. Frag ammo in particular should be carefully used so as not to arm your entire team with frag rounds that can friendly fire both your teammates and yourself. Absolute worst case scenario is having everyone on your team, who isn't a bot, have explosive ammo at once, so when you get surrounded by infected, you're forced to take massive amounts of damage to keep yourself alive. Thankfully, incendiary ammo doesn't friendly fire, get it? But is generally less useful than frag ammo. Hitting a common infected will instantly kill them, and hitting any special, uncommon, or boss infected will cause them to burn for 5 seconds. If you don't have a Molotov equipped, it's possible to shoot a tank periodically to keep it constantly taking fire damage, killing it considerably faster than normal and keeping its movement speed decreased for single player. On single player, whenever you find frag ammo and you already have a health kit or defib, then pick up the ammo box and immediately deploy it for your bots to use. Bots who shoot frag rounds in close proximity to you or themselves don't deal any damage, effectively allowing the bots to gain a temporary damage increase without the annoying side effects of unintentional friendly fire, or accidentally destroying placeable items like gas cans or propane tanks. Additionally, any special infected shot with frag ammo will be stuttered, giving you a good chance to finish them off and place your bot teammates. Curiously, any special ammo picked up will cause any shotguns to no longer fire these huge burst shots, but will fire a concentrated spray wherever you're pointing, having a similar margin of accuracy to an SMG. If you have a shotgun equipped as your current weapon, it might not be a bad idea to grab a box of frag rounds over a health kit for some maps, like Hard Rain, which you can immediately use anyways, because frag rounds fired from a shotgun to a witch's head will cause her to lose balance, giving a good opportunity to kill any witches they are blocking your way forward. There are 4 holdable items in-game: gas cans, propane tanks, oxygen tanks, and fireworks. In terms of rarity, propane tanks and gas cans can be found across pretty much every map. Oxygen tanks are found primarily on the No Mercy campaign, and fireworks can only be found in the finale of Dark Carnival, making them the rarest. Although oxygen tanks and propane tanks are effectively the same thing, something you shoot until it blows up, oxygen tanks will have a brief period after being shot with any weapon other than a shotgun where they will leak gas before exploding. All holdable items function similarly to an already existing weapon or item, so it's easier to remember what items do what because you can just link them in your mind to another item that you're already familiar with. Gas cans and fireworks act like portable Molotovs. Propane tanks and oxygen tanks function like a shot from a grenade launcher that has a much larger blast radius and damage output. In situations where you're surrounded and don't want to place whatever you're holding, you can right-click your mouse button to shove any nearby infected away like you would if you had a weapon or item in hand. Additionally, holdable items have the option of being dropped by hitting the button you used to pick them up, or thrown by hitting the button you used to shoot. Don't resign yourself to only throwing or placing your holdable items. Instead, use them interchangeably to fit whatever scenario you find yourself in. It's best to place holdable items when preparing yourself for a survival or crescendo event, and throw them when being chased down by a tank or infected horde so you don't have to get caught in the blast radius. Gas cans or propane tanks, or their respective variants, work well in conjunction with one another for thoroughly melting tanks. When a tank is nearing your gas can propane tank combo, first shoot the gas can to set the area around the propane tank on fire before shooting the propane tank, to not only take off a good 1,000 of the tank's 8,000 health on expert, but also have it get set on fire and stand on the fire for about 2 seconds, dealing an additional 200 or 400 damage. Note that if you shoot the propane tank first, it might just knock the gas can away if they're not placed close enough together for the gas can to ignite from the propane tank's explosion, so it's safer to simply shoot the gas can first.
Why, yes.
Before entering into a new area, kill any infected and special infected in sight, starting with the special infected. Don't go to great lengths to clear out every infected in the area, as this will take a great deal of time. Instead, clear out all the visible infected before heading into the area and killing any infected you pass, leaving the stragglers to your teammates. Always check your corners and obstacles as you pass by. It's a good habit to get into to check your sides by swinging your camera to look to your left and right alternatively because, just like in any good online FPS, any infected left behind you will likely attack you when you're already being attacked from somewhere else, forcing you to guard multiple directions at once, most likely resulting in your death. When clearing out a large open area, clear a path to a nearby corner or wall and hold there with your team, killing any infected that come your way before dealing with any non-aggregate infected. You should never put yourself into a situation where you're forced to deal with multiple directions at once, as doing so is the #1 way to get yourself and your team killed. When maneuvering into a new or unfamiliar area, stick to the side of the map. There are obviously some areas where this is impossible or recommended, but 9 times out of 10 you're going to be able to make it so that you only have to deal about the areas on one of your sides and in the front of you. Never place your bots or teammates into a position where they'll have to deal with multiple directions at once, as this will almost certainly get you killed or severely wounded. If your current map is one that has a lot of small hallways and buildings that you can enter into, quickly pass by these areas or check for throwable or quick heal items in addition to killing any infected inside. Some chapters have a lot of areas where you can and should collect items, and I'll make sure to point these areas out in future videos. For now, just do a very quick scan of these areas as you're running past them, stopping only briefly to pick up something that will be useful later on. If you take too long to navigate through an area, then an infected horde will spawn to attack your team. Hordes will spawn in every 1 to 5 minutes depending on a few factors, with the most important being hurting, downing, or killing teammates, and taking too long to navigate an area.
Okay, that was a mistake.
These special events always occur near the end of the level and consist of you either running to a goal, surviving in a location until an objective has been met, or performing a special task. If you don't get a crescendo event for a particular chapter, just assume they are going to have one for the next one, and plan accordingly. There are 4 types of crescendo events: regular events, scavenge events, finales, and gauntlets. Gauntlets require you to run through an area to reach an objective or a safe room, and can't be completed by simply waiting around for the infected to stop spawning. Regular crescendo events consist of you staying put for a certain period of time and fighting 1 to 2 infected hordes in the process. Finales only occur, fittingly enough, in the final chapter of a campaign, and require you to fight 2 waves of infected, with 1 to 2 tanks at the end of each wave before a rescue vehicle arrives. Scavenge events replace an ordinary finale and force you to collect 10 gas cans to fuel a generator or car to gain access to a rescue vehicle. To rank the crescendo events in terms of least common to most common, regular events are very common, gauntlets are exceptionally rare, finales occur in 5 of the Left 4 Dead 2 campaigns, and scavenge events occur in 2 of the Left 4 Dead 2 campaigns, making them the rarest. Gauntlet events can consist of many things, with the most common being fighting off infected for a short period before running to an objective. If you anticipate an upcoming gauntlet event, always have a pipe or bio bomb and an adrenaline shot ready for when you need to start running, so you can get through it as soon as possible. Getting incapacitated, puked on, or caught by a special infected will almost certainly result in you dying or taking a lot of damage on your way to complete the event, so make sure to be very careful of any corners or obstacles you pass by. When running, focus on the in-game audio as it will be your first indicator of a potential death trap up ahead. Finales are basically extended crescendo events with a few tanks thrown in, meaning they're not generally too scary to deal with. When starting a finale, make sure you have a pipe or bile bomb on you so you can have some moments of peace if things turn sour. Once you no longer hear the infected screams, then go locate a Molotov quickly so you can use it on the tank or two that are guaranteed to spawn. I highly recommend having a mod that plays a custom theme to indicate the emergence of a tank or two so you have the better indicator when to start looking for a Molotov. My personal favorite mod is a Shrek tank that plays Smash Mouth's All-Star, which you can clearly make out against any sounds in the background. You've heard it, I'm sure you can confirm this. Of all the Crescendo events, Scavenge events are arguably the hardest because of having to memorize preset paths in order to be successful, the likelihood of things going wrong, and the possibility of accidentally shooting a gas can, destroying any chance of success you might have had. Things may seem bleak, but there are things you can do to improve your odds of success. Following the same path of your life, not wasting time getting every gas can to the objective, but instead throwing them towards where the objective is in clusters, and using the occasional tank spawn as a great opportunity to get stuff done while you're free from the constant heckling of common and special infected. Movement speed is something that, although seemingly straightforward, actually has a few aspects that affect it. The most notable element that affects movement speed is your current health. If you have a health pool of 40 or higher, then you'll move at your fastest movement speed of 220 hammer units, or 4.19 meters per second. Having 39 health or below makes your character limp, reducing your movement speed to 150 hammer units, or 2.68 meters per second. If you have been downed and revived, after roughly 150 seconds your temporary health will have disappeared, leaving you with 1 solid health and a movement speed of 85 hammer units, or 1.62 meters per second. Note that having 1 health, regardless of whether or not you've been downed, will decrease your movement speed to its near minimum.
Shit, we are alright.
There are a few other factors that will affect movement speed in addition to just your current health. Wading through water, being hit by infected, and using an adrenaline shot will all affect your movement in their respective ways. Wading through water and being hit by an infected will, although I couldn't find a statistic on this, decrease your movement speed down to what it would be if you were at 1 health, or just over 1/3 of your movement speed if you were at 40 plus health. Taking an adrenaline shot, in addition to giving you a movement speed buff at 50% or so, will increase your movement speed further if you're below 40 health thanks to its 25 temporary health that it provides. So if you were at 16 health or higher and using an adrenaline shot, then your movement speed will go from 150 hammer units to 330 for the entirety of the adrenaline shot, more than double its current amount.
Sure.
And with that concludes the first episode of the Left 4 Dead 2 guide. The next episode to be covered will be useful commands and mods and how to install them, so check it out when I make it if you're not familiar with mods, you want to learn how to create a private server with cheats enabled, or want to know how to use the developer console in Left 4 Dead 2. Additionally, leave any comments as to things you liked or disliked about the video so I can make my videos better so we'll both be happier. Until next time.